Welcome to the Layman Seminary. Jenna and I are going to be continuing our Bible narrative study of the Bible. I got to figure out a better name to say that. Narrative Bible study. And so we're just going to do a little bit of review, and then we're going to get into it. We prayed before we began, so we're ready to roll. All right. Janet, the first 3 steps that we're dealing with is the first thing you do when you come to a narrative, a story, is you find the beginning and the ending of the story. You remember that?
Yes.
Then we divide it into block scenes, right? Like pretend like you're making a movie, a screenplay, something like that. And then you want to take a scene summary. This is like, we have a lot of videos doing whenever we do the descriptive summaries. And it's sort of like that, except you're putting them on the plot line. All right. And we'll talk about the plot line in a minute. Okay. So the first step is read until you find the beginning and the ending. Okay. And here's an example of the basic plot structure: the exposition, rise in action, climax, fall in action, and then the conclusion, resolution or whatever. You can find these all over the place. There's lots of stuff online, YouTube and all of that, wherever you can learn about this. These questions can be used to make your descriptive summaries a little bit more detailed, which we may do later on. But you can find this stuff all over the internet, so it's nothing new in that sense. Okay. Last time we were in Genesis 31, and last time I told you to look at how Genesis 31 begins and how Genesis 31 ends. At that time, it begins with Jacob being aware of a concern that he's going to lose his, basically the good favor that he has with Laban's sons, if he ever had good favor in the sense of the word. And then the Lord reveals something to him. The way it concludes is after, what's his name, chases him down, they almost get into a conflict, and then they say the God of Father judged between us, and then they separate. So that's the beginning and ending of the Genesis 31 story. Okay? Now the block scenes are, hey Janet, you can talk. This is not like the late at night Filipino Bible study where Dane tells y'all stories, so y'all and don't talk,
No,
that
I'm
has a purpose, but that's not what this purpose is. That's good because y'all are not able to talk at night because of your employer, but you're at church right now at the CG or whatever, and so, or CC, so you can talk. So just don't sit there being passive. All right.
okay. But I was listening.
Okay, I understand you were listening, but I want you to be participating. All right.
Yeah, sure.
I,
Yeah,
I,
I
I
was
don't I don't want you to be passive. My voice is boring, but yours is not. Um, so you block the scenes out. Once you have the head and the tail, in other words, the beginning, you divide the whole. Now, you could look at this and you could say, wow, the first part of this chapter talks a lot about Jacob, and the second part talks a lot about Laban. And you could say
So is
he's
that
the,
mean that they are that talk about more talk about more on that uh person that makes him an actor or the main actor?
well, the main actor is the one that's doing the main action, most of the action and most of the talking in general.
Okay.
But this is too much of an overgeneralization. This is not accurate enough. But whenever you come to a passage, you might think, who's the main actor? And there'll be a time whenever we go into detail about the different characters later on. But this gives you an idea of a division. Okay. I don't recommend this division, but it was one that I came to early on. Now, I wrote descriptive summaries, and the reason being is because when I started this lesson, before I met with you that time, I was tired because I had worked all night. I mean, yeah, all day, and then I got home late at night, and so I'm like, well, I'll just read it, divide it up, and make into descriptive summaries. Okay. So I did this before I ever divided it up into block scenes, at least in the way that this system shows you. But go ahead, read this first block scene.
Jacob notices how Laban and his sons despise him before the Lord gives revelation to return home. So Jacob lays his case before his household.
Okay. And I still think that's a pretty good summary of that first section. Okay, now do the next one.
Uh, Jacob's wife agrees that Laban
It's
is
actually
unjust.
it's actually wives, but I think it messed up.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Jacob's wife or wives agrees that Laban is unjust, especially for consuming their what's dowry?
Dowry.
What's dowry?
And I don't know if that's the right word. Dowry is basically money that is paid to a parent in order to marry a daughter. Or
Oh,
or
okay.
or or it's no, I'm sorry, it's not.
Payment?
If I remember right, I think it's paid to the woman you marry, and that way she's provided for. I can't remember.
Okay, I think I got you.
All right.
So she submits to God.
Yeah.
Then Jacob and his household departs, but Rachel crosses a line. Also, Jacob was deceptive.
All right. I misspelled Rachel, but
Yeah.
Rachel steals the idols, and the text mentions Jacob being deceptive. Okay.
Okay. Laban in verse 22 to 24, Laban find out that they left, so he chased him down. But God appeared to Laban in a dream and told him to watch what he says. 25. So that's an observation, right? Descriptive summary.
Yes.
Descriptive.
Yeah. Yeah. That it's your initial impressions of the text. Yes.
Okay. So verse 25 to 30. When Laban catches him, he brings his grievances before Jacob. Jacob gives his reason for leaving, but thought Laban was lying about the idols. Rachel deceives just like her father. Rachel deceives just
Yeah.
like your father?
She's the one that stole the idols and hid them, and used
Oh, yeah.
and uses the, hey, I'm on my period, so I can't get up, so you can't search my animal, that type of thing.
Oh, yeah. So, like father, like daughter. Jacob thinks, verse 36 to 42, Jacob thinks he has righteous indignation and he claims he was just in their dealings and credits gods with his prosperity that countered Laban's schemes. Laban still viewed everything Jacob has had as his, but felt powerless, so he what says mages a
Makes, it's
covenant,
supposed to be makes a covenant.
baits,
Makes.
makes a covenant, restraining order based on Abrahamic covenant.
I'm just putting things in my language, that it's
Yeah,
just descriptive
Abra-
summaries. Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, I was tired, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in here and just summarize this story, the scenes. Okay, go ahead.
To the viewers, don't mind the spelling, okay? He's tired when doing this screenshot. Okay. Um, Jacob emphasized the covenant being with Isaac and him before they ate, sleep, and
Said,
what's that? Said their goodbyes. I told you guys, don't mind the spelling,
okay.
mind the words, the sound.
You don't got to point that out every time you come to one, also. Okay,
Okay.
so this is what we were talking about earlier. He would say that you're going to take your descriptive summary and you're going to shorten that down so you have a few words that describe the scene. and then you would decide where it goes on the plot line, okay? And remember, the story that we're doing is not in his book that we're and there's many books about this, but the story's not in this book. We're using the steps, the method on the passage that we're looking at, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here's one I drew.
Concern command committee.
Don't look at those words. Look at the green first.
Okay.
You have your exposition. In other words, you're setting how things begin. Then you have your rise in action. Then you have your climax, your fall in action, and then your conclusion. So it's pretty much like a triangle, all right? Now, sometimes there's hills and all of that, ups and downs and all this, but this is just simple. Now, I later came and I came up with all C's, all right? But that was after studying with you and doing some other stuff. You don't have to come up with all C's, but the idea is that you come up with a word, a concept that summarize what you think these things are. And so I'm saying 31, 1 through 16. Go ahead, Janet, read.
Concern command committee.
Right. So Jacob is concerned about Laban's sons not liking him and Laban not liking him. So the Lord gives a command, and then Jacob calls a committee with his wives to talk to them. Okay. Now read the rise in action.
Complication, stall deceit, character, chase.
All right. So what complicates things is that when they're leaving, Rachel steals the idols, and it says that Jacob deceived Laban by not telling him he was leaving. And so this relates to their character, but it also sets up the chase where Laban chases after them because they took his idols. Okay, now read the climax.
Con, con,
Contraband.
contraband not found. What that means? Contraband not found.
Contraband is anything you're not supposed to have. So she was not supposed to have the idols, so it's called contraband.
Oh, so that's the climax over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then for the
Contraband.
fall in action, compromise, Laban and Jacob, they're trying to come to a compromise, and then they end up finding a contract, you know. And then the conclusion is they formed the covenant already. Well, that's the contract. And then they go their separate ways. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I did also, this is probably better to do instead of the descriptive summary at the very beginning, is you know how we divided things up last time in the last video, Janet, we did last week, where the scene is changing, you know? Remember that? Well, this is sort of like this, except you're just going through and you're saying scene one. Go ahead, read the first scene.
Laban and sons are bitter.
Okay, and that relates to the concern word, right? All right, next.
Scene 2, the Lord commands Jacob to return to the promised land.
So that relates to command.
It's the same as earlier that I read. You just emphasizing the exposition.
Well,
Like
what this shows is that the scenes, scene one, I would divide things up into the scenes, describing the scene, right? And then what's going on, you know, and all of that. And yeah, then you would look at the location. Like this is in the field, and this occurs at the exposition. In other words, at the beginning of the story. Okay. Now here he's on the road. All right. Here he's at Laban's house. And there's a flashback involved here. And so, yeah, then you switch to rise in action. Then you have them on the road again. They're traveling, you know. Then they're in each other's face when they meet up. And then he's going through the tents. Then he goes in front of Rachel. And this is the climax. And then it flashes back to the past. And then you have on the mountain, right? And then on the road again. So you just, where you make those divisions, where you're dividing them up like we were doing, you would make a summary, scene 1, and then write out your summary. So yeah, glad you caught on this. This is an outline I made. The font is real bad because this is a screenshot, and I don't expect anybody to read this, but I just want to show y'all some of the things you can do. Like here's the green is my descriptive summary. The pink are those words that I was using earlier, and these right here, Jacob out somewhere, here's danger in God's word. That is my first scene description, and this is where they're shifting and people talking. So you can get a little bit more elaborate with that if you wanted to. You don't want to, huh?
Seems like you're and the
Yeah.
outline, the subtitle and subpoint.
Yes. It is an outline. So that's one way you could do it. And this will be used at a later time. But the reason I did it this way is because I was like, how do I want to make sure that I boil down all the information into a scene. And so that's where I went there. Now, I know this can't be read either, but basically, if you wanted to take your descriptive summaries and ask these questions, how does the story open? How are the characters introduced? What is the setting? You could answer all those questions, sort of like interpret questions, Janet, and then go back in and rewrite your descriptive summary to include all that information if you want. And you would get something more in detail. And we may do that at a later point. And you do that for all the steps. Okay? But today, the main exercise that we're going to be doing is we're going to be placing the unit in context. So we're going to, the passage that we were in last time was Genesis 31. Well, today we're going to look at Genesis 30, and we're going to look at Genesis 32. And we're going to be asking, how do they relate to each other? Okay?
Okay.
And what occurs before, after, what is the date, time, place, that type of thing. All right, so let me just stop right here and switch to this. So you can see my document here. There's our 14 steps. All right, there's that. That's the thing I was just showing you. Here's the outline. Okay, this is a chart I made, and I'll show you this chart in a minute. But you see, I have Genesis 30 and 1, 31 and 32. And then I have different elements that I saw that I made. But that's not how I originally began. Also, from this chart, I made some summaries about things that are involved. But you know what, Janet? You're the star of this show, or this episode, however you want to
Sorry
do it.
guys, I'm the star.
Since you're the star, you're going to be doing the passage. And we're going to see how well you do. Yeah, you're the main actor. I'm just a narrator. All right, let me close down the Greek from when I was teaching Greek and Hebrew last night. So let me close that. Okay. Go back to Genesis 30. Okay, so this is what you're going to be thinking about, Janet, as you're reading 30. You're going to be thinking about what are the similarities between Genesis 31, the story that we studied last time, and that we just reviewed, and this chapter right here. In other words, how does Genesis 30 prepare us for understanding Genesis 31? Okay? And also what common themes you see, motifs as some people call them. All right, so go ahead and start reading at verse 1.
Now, when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she became jealous to her sister, and she said to Jacob, "Give me children or else I die." Oh no. Then Jacob's anger uh, seems like Rachel have character with Laban, like grabbing, forcing Jacob to do something. It
Okay,
seems like Laban also forcing Jacob to do something by keeping,
so your initial impression is that you think maybe Rachel is acting like Laban, that she's a manipulator.
characteristic like her father.
Okay. All right.
Then Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God who has with, withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" She said, "Here is my maid Bella. Go in to her, that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may have children." But it seems like uh like like Mo like Abraham or Moses?
Abraham,
Abraham, right? With Sarah and her
Hagar. Yes. Yeah.
Hagar. Yeah. So it seems like that. And she said, "Here is my maid Bilda. Go in to her, that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may have children." So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. Why is this like Abraham? Really? Bilhah conceived.
Well, you got to remember that this is part of the overall narrative. And remember, God is called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So you see that just as God has been faithful to his covenant promises, first given to Abraham and then passed on to his descendants, also there are times whenever they commit similar type sins or they run into similar type
Yeah,
problems.
it seems like because uh, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is the one family, and it seems like go down to the lineage line, you know,
Yeah.
line eight.
Well,
So we have to break that,
Isaac only had one wife, Rebecca.
huh?
Isaac only had one wife, Rebecca.
Oh, so it ends with Isaac.
With the one wife part, yeah. Jacob
Yeah,
has,
it's break there.
okay.
So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. Bilhah conceived. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me, and has indeed heard my voice, and has given me a son." Therefore she named him Dan. Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. So
This
Rachel's
is Bilhah, not
Bilhah, what did I
not
say?
Bilhah.
Oh, Bilhah. Oh, yeah. Conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. So Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have indeed prevailed." What I am looking here? What did you say earlier? The end?
You're looking
The start?
for how does this chapter prepare us for understanding the chapter we studied last week? What is the connection between the two?
Okay. Excuse. And she named him Naphtali. Then Leah saw that she had stopped bearing. She took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "How fortunate!" So she named him Gad. Leah maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, "Happy am I, for women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. Now, in the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter for you to take my husband, and would you take my son's mandrakes also?" So Rachel said, "Therefore he may lie with you." tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. Oh, that's the first I saw that it seems like a deceitful of like what Laban doing to when Jacob want to marry Rachel, but Laban gave Leah instead. So it seems like in what happening with the Leah sister and and Leah and Rachel, it seems like they are doing the same pattern with Laban during like, okay, I will give you Rachel, and then serve this. I will do, then Jacob doing that, and then he didn't give Rachel instead Leah, right? And then another 7 years. So it seems like the two sisters doing the same as what their father did
Okay.
to them
All right.
for now. And then Jacob came in from the field in the evening. Then Leah went out wait, to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that night. God gave heed to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, "God has given me my wages because I gave my maid to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again.
Oops.
Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Why is Leah instead anyway? Fine, but anyway. Then Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good gift. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have bore him six sons." So she named him Zebulun. After she bore a daughter and named her Dinah, then God remembered Rachel, and God gave heed to her and opened her womb. So she conceived and bore a son, and said, "God has taken away my reproach." She named him Joseph, saying, "May the Lord give me another son." Now it came about when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my own country." So what? Now it come about when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my own country." So is this mean that Laban is living with them
Laban is
while all these things happen, or they go back to Laban's place instead of Jacob going to his place?
okay. You remember this, that 31 hasn't happened yet. So Jacob has not left Laban. Okay.
What? Oh, we are on 30.
Yes, we're not after 31. Um, but to answer your
Okay.
question, remember who Laban is. Laban is Rebecca's brother. In other words, he's his uncle. Okay,
Ano? Laban is Rebecca's.
brother. So Laban is Jacob's uncle.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Okay,
Then,
Rachel and Leah are his cousins.
yes.
All right. So the way it worked is that he went to Laban, right? And Laban is viewed as a patriarch. So even though Jacob was living there with Rachel and all of them, Laban still had control over everything because whoever the patriarch is, that's who has the control mainly. It's not like you're living. It's not like you're independent. You know.
Oh,
So this idea that in Genesis where it says two shall leave their parents and cling to each other and become one flesh, the reality is that usually they would move next door to their parents.
oh, that's what they
They
are.
didn't move far away, you know.
Okay.
And there's a TV show nowadays. I mean, it's not on anymore. It's a comedy show called
Yeah.
Everyone Loves Raymond. You ever seen that?
No.
Everyone Loves Raymond is the mother, and the mother lives next door. So she's always over there causing problems, you know, the bad stereotypical mother, you know, she don't want to let go of Raymond because that's her boy and all of that stuff. So when I read some of these stories, it kind of reminds me of that because nowadays it's like, no, you need to separate from your family, you know, but
Yeah, but in the Philippines,
you have
we love our
multiple generations.
yeah, we love our mothers, love to stay at home with the husband, you know,
Yeah.
they're taking care of them. Anyway,
So yeah,
okay.
you have more than one generation living in the same area at least, if not the same house. But anyway,
Okay. So,
they're very prosperous people for that time. Okay, go ahead.
okay, give me my wives. This is 30, right?
Yes, it's 30.
And then that was 31 that we read before. But how this could be seems like before, and the 31 is the what the I confused.
Okay, how does 31 start?
This one is 31, right?
No,
I
it's
see.
30.
So it seems like the 31 is 30. It should be 30, and the 31 is the 30 should be 31. Because why it is like she have already children and want to go to their own land? The 30
Well,
um
the difference is, Janet, is after Joseph's born, Jacob wants to separate from Laban. He wants to leave and go back to the land, you know.
oh,
He wants to leave,
but
but
yeah.
in 31, the reason Jacob leaves is because of Laban's sons. So we're going to see in a minute how Laban says something or does something or strikes an agreement with him that makes Jacob stay. Okay. So, all right, here, keep reading,
Oh,
keep reading.
oh gosh, why it seems like it's anyway. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me. Okay, seems I got it now. Let depart, for you yourself know my service which I have rendered you. But Laban said to him, if now it pleases you, stay with me. I have divined that the Lord has blessed me on your account. He continued, name me your wages and I will give it. But he said to him, you yourself know how I have served you, and how your cattle have fared with me, for you had little before I came, and it has increased to a multitude, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I turned. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also? So he said, what shall I give you? What shall I give you? And Jacob said, and what? And Jacob said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will again pasture and keep your flock. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted sheep and every black one black one among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. Oh, so it's like U-turn, you know. It's like U-turn. You know what I mean? U-turn. Be- Before Jacob is trying to make all those goat uh goat not spotted so that it be with him, right? But now he want to be opposite now, to put back, to give to Laban.
Well, that hasn't
The
happened yet. It's true that yeah, God was blessing him with the cattle and all of that, and Jacob learned through derivation. In other words, a pagan practice, probably, that God was blessing him supposedly, and so he's like, Jacob saying, "Look, I'll give you all the good stuff, and you give me all the bad stuff." You know, I mean,
yeah, but
that's
in here,
that's almost what it sounds like. Um, all the ones that are speckled and spotted. Uh, so he's saying, I'll give you all the pure colored ones, basically, and you give me all the ones with spots and all of that stuff.
so
Okay,
yeah, it's opposite. Before, it's the spotted is for, because that's what Laban chooses to have spotted, right?
that
Ah,
hasn't
to.
that hasn't happened yet.
I'm
You're
sorry,
you're
guys.
right. It talks about it in Genesis 31, but that's a flashback. Okay,
Ah, oh goodness. Okay. Let let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every.
you've already read
That's
that.
the problem when you read this, uh the before passage, when you read a book, when before, and then you go back, it seems like what, where am I now,
Well, I mean,
because when you read
ideally,
this,
if
you
you read,
already have an idea that this happened, and then I turn into, like, you said it's not happened yet, and then, okay, I am in the, you know 30.
ideally, a pastor would teach through, a pastor or teacher or Sunday school leader or whatever would teach through the book in order, right?
I don't
And
know.
and they would do it
Maybe.
in that order. But
Oh, okay.
if you, let's say like me, I did Genesis 15, right?
Mhm.
So I had to drop people down into that part of the book. I give them enough information where they can get the story, and but at the same time can't tell them everything about the book. And so whenever you do it this way, whenever you say, okay, I'm studying Genesis 31, but I need to understand Genesis 30 and 33 a little bit, just have a feel for it so I can see the possible connections to help me understand Genesis 31. It's helpful. So the struggle that you're having is what you're supposed to be doing, because what's happening is you're remembering stuff you read and you're like, I've read this before. And you're like, it's already
That's
happened.
why.
It hasn't already happened in the storyline, but you've already read the future. You know what I mean? It's like you know the future.
Yeah, I know. That's why. Yeah, that's why I said, oh, it doesn't happen. But because I wasn't aware that I already read the chapter before this. So it makes me confused that I know already what's gonna happen in the future while reading this.
Okay, keep going.
Why is that? What's the meaning of this? Why we are doing this?
To understand how Genesis 31 functions. The context of Genesis 30 and Genesis 33 help us better understand the purpose for Genesis 31.
Hmm. Okay. Let me read continue until the end. So, my honestly will answer for me later. When you come concerning my wages. Who said this? What?
Jacob is saying that.
Jacob is saying, everyone that is not speckled, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, will be considered stolen. Laban said, Good, let it be, according to your word.
Okay.
So he removed on that day the striped and spotted male goat and all the speckled and my goodness, and spotted female goats, every one with white in it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the care of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days journey between himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. Then Jacob took a fresh rods of poplar, I don't know what it means, and almond and plane trees, and peeled white stripes in them, exposing the white which was in the rod. He didn't correct me. He set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flock in the gutters, even in the watering, what's that, troughs,
Troughs, yes.
where the flocks came to drink, and they
Mated.
when they mated when they come to drink. So the flocks mated by the rods, and the flock brought forth stripes speckled. Is this true? If
It's in the
you can do that.
Bible, but you're wondering, can you do that? Yeah. All right. Keep reading.
My goodness. Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face towards the stripe and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he put his own herds apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Moreover, whenever the stronger of the flock were mating, Jacob would place the rod in the side of the flock in the gutters so that they might mate by the rods. But when the flock was feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. That's why. Maybe Laban noticed this. That's why he said that too. You think so? Or you know what I'm trying to say? No?
Yes, I know
I,
what you're trying to say.
So the man became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father, he has made all this wealth. Jacob saw the attitude of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly towards him as formerly. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. Ah, so 30 is already, Jacob already said that, right? No? Oh, we
Jacob,
are reading this earlier. See, I'm confused now. Where did I read
we read this last week. This is 31, Janet. We're in 31 now. We
earlier? We
just
didn't.
finished 30.
Yeah, so earlier we didn't read. So I read.
What made you say you read this earlier?
Then the Lord said to you, Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. Something this is in verse 30. No, it's not.
Let's go look.
What? Wait. The sun. Raise your. Okay. All about the sons. And okay. About.
All about the
Okay.
sons, as you said, right? And
Uh,
then all about the animals. That's it.
yeah. God. What? Oh, so there's not. Oh, so God didn't say that.
He said it, but not in the story you're thinking of. You're thinking about Genesis 28. Go ahead, read that. 28:1.
So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from daughter Canaan, also rise and blah blah blah. May God Almighty arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethel, your mother's father, and from no. See, I'm confused if going this and doing
Okay,
this.
okay, okay. Let me show you. Let me show you. I got a chart that will help you with that, but I want to show you something. So Isaac says this: May God Almighty bless you, make you fruitful, multiply, company of people. And it said, may he give you the blessing of your Abraham and all the land, right? So Isaac sends him away. Okay. Now read here. Start reading at 10.
And Jacob departed from Beersheba, went towards Haran. He came to a certain place and spent the night there, because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones and put it under his head. Sorry, and down in that place he had a dream. And behold, a ladder set on the earth with its top reaching to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give it to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will also be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, and to the north and to the south, and in you and in your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed. I thought he promised that to, oh yeah, Abraham, and he
He
promised
did.
also to
He
Jacob.
did. Each one of the theocratic administrators, the big word for it, the inheritors, is given that promise.
So there is
And the
three.
promise goes in more detail. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yes.
So is this the same promise that God gave to Abraham, his
Yes.
descendant,
Yes. It's in more detail. Yes.
and the descendant is Isaac and his clan, and Isaac, Jacob, his clan. So
Mhm.
from the beginning, okay, down to, okay.
Okay. Now read this.
Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. He was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on its top. He called the name of that place Bethel. However, previously the name of the city had been Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, If God will be with me and will keep me in on this journey and that I take, and will give me food to eat and garments to wear, and I return to my father's house in the safety, then the Lord will be my God. This stone which I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you gave me, I will surely give a tenth to you.
So the point is that God, Jacob, all right, so Isaac says, hey, you got to go. You need to go find a wife from, people, because we don't want you to marry the foreign women that Esau's messing around with. We want you to go back, and so Jacob's on his way. And after receiving the blessing of Isaac, then God encounters him and blesses him. And then that's whenever he meets Rachel. And then all of that stuff happens. Okay.
Right?
So going back to I don't want to hurt nobody's eyes. So going back to 31, right? You're right. See, return to the land of your fathers, relatives, and I will be with you. And right here, Genesis 32:9, it's repeated there. But, and we'll see that in a minute. So the point is, Janet, as you said, by reading it again, reading the connection, you were saying, it seems like I read this before. Yeah, because it's all part of the patriarchal narrative. You know, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And remember that Genesis is one book, so you'll see repeated themes and repeated ideas throughout. So you're making the right connection like that. Okay, so keep going.
So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field and said to them, I see your father's attitude, that it is not friendly towards me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to hurt me. But he did the same. He cheated Laban also.
Okay, did he trick Laban before or after? Who tricked who first?
Laban.
Okay, now did Jacob trick anybody before he encountered Laban?
No, but that's a revenge.
There was somebody he tricked.
Huh?
There was somebody that he tricked. Look,
Leah?
no,
Rachel?
but start reading.
27. Now it come about when Isaac was old and his eyes were oh yeah and come about Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see and he called oh yeah I know that Jacob is the one who deceived his Esau his brother.
Yeah, and this
He,
also goes back. This also goes back to. Oh my goodness! Why did it go way up there?
we're going out years ago.
All right, all right. Start right here. 21.
Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because oh this is Isaac now we are not on Jacob
Right.
so prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren, and the Lord answered him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled together with her, and she said, If it is so, why then am I this way? So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, Two nations are in your womb, and two people will be separated from your body, and one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger.
Okay.
When
All right.
when her days to be de- to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Now the first came forth red all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau. Afterwards, his brother came forth with his hand holding on Esau's heel. So, so his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 60 years old when she gave birth to them.
So this is heel catcher or supplanter. In other words, someone. It's like the idea of the manipulator, the fighter, the contender, those
Yeah,
type
the
of
name of
ideas.
Jacob. So no,
Yeah.
it's not good naming Jacob because you become the deceit.
Mm. Well,
The deceit.
this is because of prophecy. Now, remember, Jacob steals Esau's birthright.
Yeah.
Remember that?
It's
The beans?
called- Yeah.
Okay. So, going back, um, so you basically have where yes, Laban has deceived Jacob, right?
Hmm.
But before Jacob met Laban, Jacob was involved in deception as well. And Rebecca was a manipulator as well. Okay?
Hmm. Yeah. So Rachel is also a manipulator with Jacob, with the children.
Well, you have that idea as well. Are the men going to imitate the sins of the other men? And are the women going to imitate the sins of the other women?
How about you guys? What do you think? Is that a rhetorical question or question that need to
No,
answer?
that's a Batman question when you're reading the narrative, what the expectation is when you get to new
Right.
characters that are introduced. What is the expectation? Are they going to follow the good example of Abraham or the bad example of Abraham? Are they going to follow the good example of Sarah or the bad example of Sarah?
So your question was rhetorical.
Right. It's something to think about when you're reading.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers. Guys, we are continuing on Genesis 31 now. So
Yes.
Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field, and said to them, I see your father's attitude, that it is not friendly towards me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to hurt me. If he spoke thus, the speckled shall be your wages. Then all the flock brought forth speckled, and if he spoke thus, the stripe shall be your wages. Then all the flock brought forth stripe. Thus God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me.
Janet, can you shut the
And it,
door? The music or sound is coming through.
no, I, there's some, no, it's
Okay.
not the outdoor.
All right. Well,
It's inside.
next time we make a video, we will have to pick a place where there isn't so much sound. But it's all right. Keep going.
And it came about at that time when the flock were mating, that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream. And behold, the male goats which were mating were striped, speckled, and mottled.
Yeah. So this is a flashback. He's telling his wife about information that is not included in Genesis 30. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So he's
So
telling them
it's a
he
lot.
had a dream. So before he did what he did with the animals, uh,
Mm.
he had a dream.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You're on verse
Okay.
11 now.
Yeah, I'm going here so that it will not so loud.
It's fine. I think I heard Pastor Chris'
Yeah.
voice.
Okay. So Uh, then the angels of God said to me in that dream, Jacob, and I said, here I am. He said, lift up now your eyes and see that all the male goats which are mating are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all the Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where
See,
you
that goes
made
back to that story we read earlier.
yeah. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land, and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah said to him, do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as foreigners? For he has sold us and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and our children. Now then, Do whatever God has said to you." Then Jacob arose and put his children and his wives upon camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his property which he had gathered, his acquired livestock which he had gathered in Padan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. When Laban had gone to shear his flock, then Rachel stole the household idols that were her father's. Why did Rachel do this?
Well, there's two views. And from my pre-understanding, I haven't looked at commentaries now because we're not in that process. But my pre-understanding is that one is supernatural, and she's wanting to trust in the other gods. She wants those other gods to bless her, of the idols. The other one is that if you possess the idols, it related to your inheritance. That
Oh,
um,
because they're talking about we don't have our father's inheritance, right?
yeah, yeah, in a way. Well, think of it like, I think the connection goes like this. You make the idol, right? And then when
Mhm.
you make the idol, you supposedly have, you
Value.
got power over that God. And as long as you do what that God wants you to do, then he will bless you or she will bless you.
So Rachel didn't really trust the God of Jacob.
That's a possibility. Or she's into syncretism and she's mixing both, which shows Laban was into syncretism because it says household idols.
Oh yeah, because it is not Rachel who find a husband like the Samaritan woman. No, I'm sorry, wrong quote. Like, it's Jacob went to find a wife, right? And then why is that so?
Why is what so?
Why then Laban? Why then who's that? Jacob? Isaac? Why then Isaac wanted Jacob to do his family? It says so that they will not worship in a false god. But why then Laban has a false god, idols, something like that, an idols? If they have an idols, they worship a false god.
Yes, or it may just be a symbol for their inheritance. You would have to study that out. But this is what to think about. Abraham sent a servant to get a bride for Isaac. Okay. When he
Hmm.
went there, he went to the area where Laban is. So Isaac's like, wow, I got this good woman, Rebecca, you know, and I'm looking at Esau, and Esau's loving all these foreign women, these other women that don't have any common ground with us. So you know what? I better send him back to where I got my wife. And so that's how Jacob ends up with Laban. But the
Mm.
thing to understand is he's not really sending him so much to Laban. He's rather sending him back to the place of blessing.
Send back to the place of blessing, which is in Canaan.
Yeah, because when Abram found that wife, he felt like the servant felt like God had led her to him, and he did. And so then he's like, okay, I got my wife here. I was blessed here. Uh, this is like relates to the Abrahamic covenant. So now I'm sending Jacob to, because I don't want Jacob around Esau because they're going to kill each other. You know, there's problems there. I mean, we know about the prophecy about
It seems
being
like
two nations being
using
in the womb,
Laban.
huh?
It seems like using Laban so that Jacob can have inheritance. God using Laban
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
prosper Jacob.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening because
Why is that? I mean, and then so you can understand Laban that because it seems like You come here with nothing, because the gift that uh, the servant give to Laban is from Isaac, right? For Jacob.
Okay, which let's go back to
And
let's go back.
no, no, I mean,
You're asking right questions. You're thinking about this through correctly. Okay, so after he steals the blessing, right? He sends him off. Jacob is sent away. Okay?
Jacob sent away who?
No, Isaac sends Jacob away. Okay?
Isaac sent Jacob away.
Yeah.
No, it's Isaac. No, his mother.
No, Isaac sent him away.
Oh, because the cheated one. Because he cheated.
Look, so Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from your daughters of Canaan." And then that's where he said, "Go to where I basically got your mother."
Why is that? Why is not in Canaan?
Canaan is the promised land, Janet.
Yeah, I
That's
know. I mean,
that's where
see,
the Abrahamic covenant. That's the place of blessing.
Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from the
Oh,
daughters of
yeah, yeah. You're
Canaan."
right. You're right. Yeah. Even though this is the promised land, you got to remember what God told Abraham, that they won't be able to get to possess the land until 400 years. So even though the land is the promised land, in Canaan, they're full of pagans. They're full of people that are will be a bad influence on Jacob and stuff. And so God sends him out of the land because it's not the right time. So remember this, God is saying, I'm going to give you this land, but it's not the right time. I've already given you the land, but I,
But why God not letting Jacob to marry in Canaanites?
he doesn't look at the previous statement. Um,
Canaan is a promised land.
look, you got to back up and read this too. Um, give me a second. I have to back it up.
So
All right, so Isaac is old, right? So this is why they're going to do the blessing and stuff.
Isaac, behold. Okay. Rebecca, while listening, okay.
You don't have to.
Rebecca,
You don't have to read that. I'm just showing you something. Give me a second. So then he gives the prophecy. All right. So he's given the prophecy, and then that's whenever he's hunting, he comes back angry. Look what he says here. Then he said, "Is it not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times." So this is what Esau's saying about Jacob.
okay.
He takes away my bedfellow, now he's taking away my blessing. All
No,
right.
that is not Jacob's fault. It's Esau because he allow. It's his decision.
That, yes, that's true. But remember the prophecy, the older shall serve the younger. Esau is the older, Jacob is the younger.
Oh, so he need to serve the youngest, right? So, but he refused to serve by feeding
No,
him.
no, it's a prophecy. It's not saying what should happen, it's saying what will happen. Now, it's possible that Rebecca was manipulating things because she knew the prophecy, so she treated Jacob differently than Esau. That's a possibility. And she was trying to manipulate. Okay. All right. So then he gets the blessing and the conflict and all that. Um, read this.
Rebecca said to Isaac, "I am tired of living because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth like this, from the daughters of the land? What good will my life to be? Okay, fine. I
because
got it.
because Esau is marrying all these foreign wives. So then Isaac calls Jacob. So Rebecca's frustrated, and so Isaac does something. Okay. All right. So now we can
So I
bring
said,
it. What?
no, I was trying to read, but
You don't need to read it because we already got that part going on.
okay.
All right. So you are, and so you bring up a good point. You know, when you read the Bible, it's important to know the story and how everything connects. It's just like when you're watching that series and you're watching Arrow, Janet, or Flash. If you started in the middle of a seat, if you started with season 3, episode 10 or something, you're going like, what happened here? You know, and it's like, oh, I gotta backtrack.
Why
I gotta go
earlier?
back.
That's why earlier it seems like I'm watching the episode that's already done, and then I review, but I didn't notice that I am reviewing
Well, because there's
because
flashback,
I watch.
there's flashbacks in the story right here.
Yeah, because okay.
All right, so we got the Rachel stealing the idols. Okay, verse 20.
And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean. Laban the Aramean? Oh yeah, by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he arose and crossed the Eup-
Euphrates.
Euphrates River. I hope no one sees that. What oh my goodness. And sees his face towards the hill country of Iran. I hope guys you didn't see what I saw. I what just no. Goodness. I know my husband didn't see it also. But don't review the video. You may see it. What happened. But anyway.
When if you mention it now, everybody's going to view it. So now everybody's going to go back and you'll see the statistics. Like everybody's going to be stopping and watching it.
I'm just hoping that they didn't see it. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
if you keep talking about it, they're going to go back and rewatch it. I'm
Okay.
curious too, but let's continue.
Let's let's continue. When it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, then he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey, and he overlooked him in the hill country of
Overtook
Gilead,
him.
overtook him. Go, came to Laban the Aramean in a dream. A God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream of the night and said to him, be careful that you do not speak to Jacob either good or bad. Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tents in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, what have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me and did not tell me so that I might have sent you away with joy and with song, with timbrel and with lyre, and did not allow me to kiss my sons and daughters? How you have done foolishly. Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful not to speak either good or bad to Jacob. Now you have indeed gone away because you long greatly for your father's house, but why did you steal my gods? Then Jacob replied to Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your God shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself. For Jacob did not know what Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two maids, but he did not find them. Then he went of Leah's tent and entered their tent. Now Leah had Rachel. What I'm Leah? Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered in Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in camel saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban fell through. You know, this scene is very complicated. It seems like present scene, but actually it's past scenes.
Yes, this is a background. This is a flashback. Very good.
I mean the background.
Yes,
Why
very
is that?
good. That's what the narrative does. I will show you in the Hebrew at another time why it's doing that.
She
But
said
it's
to
good
her,
you caught that. That's actually one of the steps that we'll do in the future.
hmm, she said to her, she said to her father, "Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of a woman is upon me." So he searched out but did not find the household idols. Then Jacob became angry and contended with Laban, and Jacob said to Laban, "What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have fell through all my goods, what have you found of all your household gods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you." So Laban now protect what have done Rachel, you know, uh, to I mean trying to rescue what Rachel have done by saying all that Jacob had done to Laban. Anyway,
I don't
this
understand what
20,
you're saying.
yeah, I know. These 20 years I have been with you. You're here I am again. Ews, ooh, what?
Use
Your
or use.
your your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flocks. That which was torn of beasts I did not bring to you. I bore I bore the loss of it myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was day by day the heat consumed me. So it seems like Jacob makes stirring up the conscience of Laban. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that he may not go to Rachel what he has done, what she has done.
He doesn't,
To
Laban doesn't know Rachel has the idols, Janet.
Yeah, but Jacob knows it.
No,
He she,
he doesn't. Jacob doesn't know it either.
oh, why is that earlier? It says that Rachel had said that. Yeah, will you rewind?
Yeah, I'll rewind, but it's not
Sorry,
there.
guys. It's not there. So
Mm-mm.
Rachel, father, let the when Rachel when Laban goes to tent of Rachel, where is it? Oh, scroll up again. Scroll up one more little bit. Okay. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel's saddle, and she sat on them. And she sat on them. And Laban felt through all the tent, but did not find them. She said to her, see, she said to her father, who's she? She is Rachel. Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you. Oh, because she's sitting down the idols. For the manner of women is upon me. Wasn't so he searched but did not find the household idols. Okay, got you. Fine. He set down the
And that's
idols.
why Jacob is so mad. He's thinking,
Oh,
he's thinking that Laban is lying. That
oh,
Laban is
okay.
just trying to come as a way to try to stop him from leaving.
Okay. Got you. I'm sorry, guys. Just want to have
No,
clarification.
it's fine.
No, don't be bored. Let's continue reading. Don't get mad at me. Let's do digging. These 20 years I have been in your house, I serve you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night. Then Laban replied to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? So now come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. Then Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Then then Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather a stone. Okay, that's Jacob. Here I am again in this place. Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather a stone. So they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Now Laban called it Jigar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galid. Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore it was named Galid. I have already commented that, right? And Mizpah, for he said, may the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from the other. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take wives beside my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness, no man is with us. See, God is witness between you and me. Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the pillar which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness that I will not pass by his heap to you for harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this pillar for me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his kinsmen to the meal. And they ate the meal and spent the nights on the mountain. Early in the morning Laban arose and kissed his sons and daughters and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place.
Now here's 32. Remember, the goal of this video was to see how how you understand 31 through reading 30 and 32. So read 32.
I really don't get what we are doing this time. Now, as Jacob went on his way, the angels of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them,
Okay, now
what?
let me pause real quick. Since you have not read this, at least this time, how does what you're reading now remind you of what you've already read?
What did you say? Oh.
How does what you're reading now remind you of what you've already read?
Now, as Jacob went his way, the angels. Yeah, it's remind me that Jacob already done his business with Laban and everything.
Yeah, but when has Jacob ever encountered angels before?
No.
Yes, he
Ah,
has.
in 30 and 31,
No, way
I
early,
did read.
like
God.
28 or something. Jacob's ladder. Remember we read that story about Bethel?
Oh.
Okay, keep reading. I'm just telling you that. You'll see it later, but Keep reading.
Now, as Jacob went on his way, oh, you mean the stone? That's his dream. God told him in a dream. She saw a dream,
Okay,
not
so
angel.
you bring up a good point. So the question is, has Jacob ever seen an angel while he was not dreaming? Let's try. Then the angel of God said to me, okay, that's
One.
the
In the
dream. That's
dream.
yeah, I know that's the dream, but hold on, there's more. He had a dream, and behold, a ladder. Right, there's an
Yeah,
angel.
in okay. Dream.
Okay,
See, he said to me, the Lord before whom I have sent his angel.
wait, we got to see who's talking. This is talking about Isaac. Okay,
Okay.
so your argument is correct. While if based on these initial observations, all the other times that Jacob saw angels was in a dream. But here,
It's always in a dream.
but
But here
here,
it's not a dream.
yes, good observation, Asamako. All right,
So I'm
keep
like,
reading. Yeah, you're right.
always a dream.
It's similar but not the same. Yes.
That's a good, that's that's a good, you know. Anyway. Now, as Jacob went on his way, the angel of God met him. Jacob said, when see, the angels of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them, this is God's camp. So he named the place Mahanaim. Oh, so since he saw the angels of that place, so he called that Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom.
So
He
what's this
also
remind you of?
then Jacob sent messenger before him to then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir. Yeah, uh, remind
In 31, Esau's not mentioned, right?
what about?
In 31, Esau is not mentioned.
Yeah, Esau is not mentioned.
But the last time Esau was mentioned is uh
32.
is in 28, right before Jacob had the dream
Mm-hmm.
and put the stones and the ladder and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is reminding you of the bigger story. Uh-oh, 32. Sorry. This is reminding you of the stuff that's already happened, the conflict with Jacob, Esau, all of that stuff, the prophecy, everything connected.
Yeah, this one is it, it reminds me that Esau wanted to kill Jacob, and then it's very thrilled now because it's a suspense in the movie because Esau is like that.
Okay,
And then
since
Jacob want to see him. He, that's why Jacob sent sent a messenger to know if Esau is very mad, you know. So Jacob is afraid to meet Esau because the narrative says that that Esau is very mad at Jacob. And why didn't God, verse 1, scroll up please, and then why on verse 32, on chapter 32, first verse, why then The scripture said, now as Jacob went on his way, the angel of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them, this is God's camp. So he named the place Manhattan. Then Jacob sent messenger before him, his brother Esau in the. Why then? What the angel of God told him during that time? There's a time between. Why
Well,
then?
well, it doesn't
Well,
say he told him anything. It just said you met him.
yeah, met him. So just muted while met him, but he said, "This place I named Mahanaim."
We don't know if they talked. All we know is it's basically like they're like security guards,
So
possibly.
why? So why then Jacob? So maybe the angels of God is like, a sign that there's a danger or there
Well, it's
or
there's that aspect of it as well, but there's also the aspect that it's reassurance. God is trying to strengthen his faith.
So when Jacob saw the angels of God, he think about Esau.
No.
It comes into his mind
Well,
that, oh,
the
I'm
connection
going to my place.
you got to remember. Yes. Yeah, in a way, yes, because we saw from the narrative, it was whenever he left Esau 20 years ago
Mm,
that he encountered God and had the dream about the angels and all that.
mm.
So yes, it's a reminder of when he left. It's like God is
Yeah.
bringing the angels there to reassure him, but also to remind him and to
Mm,
help the reader pick up on the idea, the connection between the stories.
mm,
So if you think of it like this, and this is not a perfect example, but you know how when you watch Arrow or Flash, you're following one character, his story, right? Well,
Gotham.
we're following the story of Jacob, okay? We're following the story of Jacob, right? He's the superhero, so to speak. But inside that story of Jacob, you had the story of Rachel and the idols and the conflict with Laban and all of that. But
Mm,
just like all the superheroes are connected to each other, the story of Jacob connects to Isaac and then the previous issues there and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So when we read Genesis 31, that's one episode. Okay? That's one
mm.
episode. And 30 would be an episode. And 30 and 32 would be an episode probably. And whenever you would do this in order, you would map all this out. But we're having to jump in at this passage because I'm going to be writing a paper on this passage and I plan on preaching this possibly in September. But anyway, but there's a reason why I wanted, because before my church got the people in my church got COVID, I was originally going to preach on Genesis 31. And so, and I wanted to preach on that for a particular reason. And I'm like, well, I have more time. I might as well write my paper. I might as well, dive in this deeper. And then I'm taking Old Testament survey, which deals with narrative. And so I'm trying to kill a bunch of birds with one stone. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. 32:3.
Then
Go
Jacob
ahead.
sent messengers before him to his brother Esau. And then see, how did Jacob know that Esau is on his way
Keep
to meet
reading.
him?
Keep reading.
His brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He also commanded them, saying, "Thus you shall say to my lord to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. I
Okay,
have
no, look. It doesn't say Esau knew that Jacob was coming. Instead,
Hmm,
Jacob sends messengers first. Now, it's
hmm,
possible Esau had spies watching the land and all of that, but
hmm,
from what we're reading in the narrative, Jacob makes the first move, a reconciliation.
hmm.
Okay, if you want to look at it as like that. All right, so go to 4.
He also commanded them, saying, thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. Oh my goodness, it's already 6. I'm sorry, guys. I'm
We're
distracted
almost
with the time.
done. We're almost done.
I have oxen and donkeys and flocks and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in your sight. The messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and furthermore, he is coming to meet you. Oh, okay. Okay. He's not Jacob. Okay, maybe uh, Jacob is going back home, and he remembered the anger from Esau before he left from Canaan, and then now he's going back to Canaan, and therefore he said to send messenger before him so that he will know if his brother is mad or whatever, and then, you know, so he just want to know if his brother is mad at him or he will gonna be
Mhm.
killed. So, but anyway, the messenger returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and furthermore, he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. My goodness, then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him and the flock. See, assumption is not good, right? Assumption is not good. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him and the flocks and the herds and the camels into two his companies. And he said, if Esau come to the one company and attacks it, then the company which is left will escape. Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your relatives and I will prosper you. I am unworthy of all the loving kindness and of all the faithfulness which you have shown to your servant. For with my staff only I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him that he will come and attack me and the mothers with the children. For you said, I will surely prosper you and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which is too great to be numbered. My goodness, it seems like he already cornered. He don't know where to go to, you know, and then end up like Lord, you know, pray, end up with prayer. So he spent the night there. Then he selected from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau. 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200, here I am again, ewes and 20 rams. 30 milking camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
He delivered them into the hands of his servant, every draw by itself, and said to his servant, pass on before me and put a space between drops. He commanded the one in front, saying, when my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong and where are you going? To whom do these animals in front of you belong? Then you shall say, this belongs to your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he is also behind us. Then he commanded also the second and the third, and all those who followed he drove, saying, after this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And you shall say, behold, your servant Jacob also is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me. Then afterward, I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present passed on before him, while he himself spent that night in the camp. Now he arose that same night and took his 2 wives and his 2 maids and his 11 children and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. Jabbok. He
Mhm.
took them and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. Whose man? Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. So before he met Esau, that's the way he met Jesus.
If you want to put it that way, yeah, the pre-incarnate Christ. If you believe
Yeah,
that this is the pre-incarnate Christ,
that's why. Is this the time that Jesus take out his limp?
yes,
I mean,
yes.
uh,
Don't say Jesus because he technically wasn't Jesus until he was born, because it said his name should be Jesus, for he will save
okay, the
people
pre-exist
from
what?
sin.
How the right said the pre-existence?
Pre-incarnate Christ. So
Pre-incarnate. So
Christ,
don't say
Christ
Jesus.
appearing as a Christophany um, before his incarnation.
So no need to say Jesus because Jesus is born on is Jesus in the Bethlehem.
Yeah, I mean,
It's Christ.
it's fine, but it may confuse people, because if you tell people,
Hi
uh,
guys, don't be confused.
yeah, yeah,
Don't be confused. You
it's
have
all
a
right. No, it's fine.
pre pre-existence. I should say that.
Pre-incarnate.
Pre-incarnate. I'm sorry, guys. I am very bad memory.
It's all right.
So pre-incarnate Christ, not pre-incarnate Jesus, because Jesus is in Jerusalem. Anyway,
And Jesus,
so
his name will be called Jesus in the future. Yes.
in the future, yeah, the Christ, yeah, okay, the Christ
Even
will be
though
called.
it's always true that his attribute is he's Yahweh, so it's the Lord of salvation or the Lord saves. That's true from the very beginning. We know that,
Hmm.
but in the storyline, uh, he's not called Jesus until his birth. He takes on
Yeah.
flesh.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Christ not become Jesus until his birth.
yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
When he saw that he had not prevailed against him, he touched the socket of his thigh, mm, of Jacob's thigh was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me," because he is afraid of Esau. So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. So you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed."
Now, this phrase showed up before. Do you remember
Mm.
where? The word
Just little
wrestle
bit.
also. Uh,
Just little.
look,
Oh.
read it.
So Rachel said, "With mighty wrestling I have wrestled with my sister." No, that's Rachel,
I know,
not
but it's
Jacob.
the same words. And Jacob is
Oh.
Rachel's wife, and they're in this wrestling together.
Hmm. So Jacob took the words from Rachel.
No, God took the words,
Sorry.
but it goes all the way back to Jacob's name. Jacob is a wrestler. He's a heel catcher. So you imagine they're wrestling, right? And you're fighting, and the person grabs the heel. Like a lot of times when you watch a movie where two bad guys are fighting, or one bad guy and a good guy,
Mm.
um, the one thinks the other guy's dead, and then he walks away, and the guy grabs his heel and pulls him. It's almost sort of
Mm.
like that, except it's doing from the womb. You know,
Mm.
and
Mm.
and so Jacob is a wrestler. He's a supplanter. He's a heel catcher, and
Mm.
and and so you have that imagery going on.
Okay.
So if you would think about it, God, this is kind of funny. God picked two wrestlers to marry each other. You know, they're both fighters or something. I don't know. Just an observation. I know there's similarities between you and I. We
That's
wrestle.
why
We wrestle with the text together. You know. But anyway.
So
All right.
okay, it's already 7, Charlie.
Almost done. You're almost done. Keep reading.
Okay. Then Jacob asked him and said, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob named the place. So meaning he didn't know the name of the Lord who wrestled him.
Right. He didn't know. He didn't know the exact name. He didn't say, "Oh, hi, my name's Jesus." You know.
So, okay, fine. So
He didn't
Jacob
say,
named the
"My name is Yahweh." He didn't say that.
okay. For he said, "I have seen God face to face." How did he know that he sees God? Yet my life has been preserved.
We'll
Now
talk
the
about this in future, what Elohim means and how it could be used. But for now, we're just going to use it and make the assumption that this is talking about the pre-incarnate Christ and that he actually wrestled with God. But there are other options that we could talk about later on. But that's deeper in the study. Okay. 31.
now the sun rose upon him just as he crossed over Penuel, and he was limping on his thigh. Therefore, this day the sons of Israel do not eat the what's that sinew of the hip which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of Jacob's thigh. That's I'm sorry, but that's that's I don't know. I want to say, but
You're thinking
but
it's superstition?
yeah,
Well, anyway,
you know,
regardless of
that
that.
I may say they are charismatic. Oh, can I say that?
Anyway, okay, let me show you this. Making a
What?
chart like this could help. All right. Where you write your observations. You read 31 first, right? And then you write your observations here
The
for each one
concern,
of
the
them. Then
relation.
you divide it up. Okay, there's a
Can
concern
I
mentioned
make?
here.
Yeah, can I make? Uh, uh, like you
I'll tell
said,
you what, go home, and we'll make a part 2 video. And we'll talk about this if you want.
okay,
Or if not, we'll
okay.
get it next time. But from this, I was able to make these summaries right here, these short
Yeah,
summaries.
I will. Yeah, I will practice the charting. I'll be more on focusing on that so
Well,
that I can.
this is not charting salvation, but it's
No, I'm not saying that. I said if you said if I want to study with you, but when I got home. But if I'm got home, if we cannot study, I want to practice the charting.
well, we could do both because we could just make a short video explaining this chart,
Okay.
and then me and
Okay.
you can do a private study on what you want to study. All
Okay.
right.
Sure.
All
Okay.
right. So Asama Code, tell the audience what they can do.
Hello, guys. I'm sorry if I was so, I don't know what you can, but I really hope that you didn't see what happened earlier. So,
Now
but
you're
anyway,
mentioning it again.
thank you so much for, thank you so much for watching and listening to us. And I hope, even though sometimes we feel bored or yawning or sleepy while listening, but please just take the things that it's helpful for you learning God's word. So thank you so much for watching us until this time, and hope to see you again next. And please, if you blessed by this video, subscribe. Charlie, I'm doing this. Please,
Good
I hope
job.
you know
Good
what
job. Good job.
I hope you know what you're doing when you post this. Subscribe and share this video to others. Bye.
Right. And most of all, keep this ministry in prayer. God bless.